In my last video, I spoke about how powerful storytelling is in marketing. I also mentioned that identifying your brand story is one of the ways you can make use of storytelling in your marketing. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you a complete guide on exactly how you can identify and create compelling brand stories. But just before we get into that, if you are yet to subscribe to this channel, you want to do that right now. So subscribe. Done? Okay, so let's get into today's video. First of all, let's define what a brand story is. A brand story is a narrative that defines who you are, what you do, and what you stand for. It really isn't just a narrative or a story about your products or your services. It's actually a story about your brand's mission, your brand's vision, and your brand's values. These narratives weaves across every aspect of your brand, right from your brand logo to your interaction with customers. In my last video, I spoke about how important it is to be authentic when creating a brand story. If you are yet to see that video, I'm going to plug the link to that video in this video. So you can go back to that video, then come back here to continue watching just to get a better perspective. Being authentic has actually become very important in today's market. Customers have become more informed and discerning of brand. So it's much more easier now for a consumer to identify a brand that is not authentic. Having an authentic brand helps build trust and it also fosters loyalty. Now, when a customer already has trust in a brand because they know that this brand is an authentic brand and they're very true to their story, even when that brand makes a mistake at some point or the other, the customer is able to overlook that mistake because they're very sure that this brand is very authentic and this is just a little mistake. Compared to a brand that has been able to consistently build an image of dishonesty, when such a brand makes a mistake, the customers would not stay and they would not even forgive it because you've already laid the precedence of dishonesty and you have not been authentic with them. The reason why I'm emphasizing on being authentic in this video, just like I did in the last video, is because it's a very important aspect of storytelling in marketing. You always have to be authentic. It cannot be overemphasized. So make sure that in everything you do in storytelling, make sure it is as authentic as it can get. In the next few chapters of this video, I'm going to be sharing with you a step-by-step approach on how you can create an authentic brand story. The first thing to do is discover your brand's core. You want to identify your mission statement and your values. Your mission statement is the primary objective of your brand, while your values is the principles and guidelines that your brand lives by in the decision-making process. Once you're able to do this, once you're able to identify your brand's core, your values, and you've been able to define your brand's mission, you've just taken the first step in building your brand story. The next step is to use your brand's origin story. Every brand has an origin. Every brand started from somewhere. The origin story is actually one of the most engaging parts of your narrative. Here, you are able to tell the story of how your brand came to be. What inspired your founders? What did they have to go through to get to where they currently are? What challenges did they face? And how did they overcome these challenges? When you highlight the journey of your brand, which is your origin story, what you're doing is that you're making your brand more relatable and more human to your consumers. You're telling them where the brand started from, what the goal is, every step of the journey, the challenges, the high times, the low times. You're bringing your brand to life. You're making your consumers know that there is a story behind this brand and you want them to really key into the story. Now, the third step to take is to identify your audience. Now, I mentioned this in the last video and I'm saying it again in this video because you really cannot do marketing without knowing your target audience. It's close to being impossible. In fact, it is impossible. When you know your target audience, when you know the people that you are targeting, you know how to craft the story. You know the kind of stories they want to hear. You know what suits them. You know their values, you know their interests, and you're able to target it properly. So identifying your audience, you cannot do without it. Is the third step that you need to take in creating an authentic brand story. Now I'm just going to do a little recap from the first step just to be sure that you're following. The first step is to identify your brand's core. The second step is to use your brand's origin story. And the third step is to identify your audience. So, yeah, on track. Now, on to number four. This is the stage where you now craft your narrative. Now that you've gathered all of this insight, it is time for you to craft your narrative. This is a pro tip when you're crafting your narrative. You need to always start with a strong opening that can capture attention. Make use of your brand voice. Whatever your brand voice is, make sure you make use of it, whether it's being friendly or being authoritative or being stern. Make sure you make use of it all through your narrative. Remember to also incorporate your core messaging in every aspect of your narrative. This way, your narrative is coherent and is easy for your consumers to follow. Now, take your time when you're crafting your narrative. Don't rush in and rush out. Take your time, ease into it, and let your creativity come alive. Step number five, showcase real stories and testimonials. Incorporating real stories and testimonials is such a strong way of enhancing your brand stories. Now, these stories could either be real stories from past consumers, testimonials from clients, or even stories from employers. These stories are going to show credibility and also show how your brand is making a positive impact in the lives of people. Now, I know that oftentimes we downplay the importance of testimonials, but the truth is that testimonials and real stories can actually be strong motivation for prospective clients because these prospective customers, oftentimes see themselves in the stories of customers and testimonials of clients. Always make sure that you gather testimonials from clients. Always make sure that you have real stories from past customers or consumers. Real stories, not fake stories. Real stories that other customers or prospective clients will be able to relate to. It's very important. So, this is what number now? I think you're fifth. This is the fifth step in creating an authentic brand story. Remember that the focus is creating an authentic brand story, a real brand story. Step number six, visuals and emotional elements. It's storytelling. So, of course, visuals are very crucial. Your brand's visual identity, like your brand logo, your brand color, and your overall design, has to reflect your brand story. These elements always have to evoke the kind of emotions you want your consumers to feel whenever they think of your brand. Whether it's excitement you want them to feel, whether it's trust or nostalgia, your brand visuals always has to reinforce your brand story. And remember, a picture is worth 1,000 words, but in branding, it speaks volumes. Now let's recap the step from step one. One is to identify your brand's core. The step two is to make use of your brand's origin story. Three is to identify your audience. Four is to craft your narrative. Step five is to make use of real stories and testimonials. And step six, which we just looked at, is to make use of visual and emotional elements. Let's go on to step number seven. The seventh step in creating an authentic brand story is to be consistent across all channels. Your narrative should be seamlessly integrated into all platforms, including your website, your social media, your emails, your advertising, all platforms. What this does is that it creates a unified brand experience and it makes it easier for your consumers to identify your brand. You also want to ensure that your messaging, your brand tone, and your visuals are consistent across every medium and across every platform, irrespective of the platform that you're advertising on or you're campaigning on. Make sure that your brand voice, your visuals, your brand tone, and your messaging is consistent. Now you're just one step away from creating an authentic brand story, and this is step number 8. Always make sure that your brand story is evolving. Your brand story isn't static, and to be honest, it really isn't supposed to. As your business grows and changes, your brand story is also supposed to evolve. Always keep your story adapting to new market trends, keep it adapting to your audience needs and your company's development. So creating a brand story is not going to be a one-time thing. Don't think that once you create it now, that is it. No. The market is always going to change and your story needs to evolve with recent developments and with market trends. You guys know me, I'll give a disclaimer. So this is a disclaimer here. Although it's very important for your brand to evolve as there are recent developments and also new market trends, you also want to make sure that you do not move too far away from your core values and your brand mission. This ensures that your brand remains authentic and true to its roots. So there you have it. Buy my books. These are the 8 steps in creating an authentic brand story. Always remember that your brand story is your unique selling point and it helps you to connect with your audience on a deeper and an emotional level. If you follow these 8 steps I've listed in this video, and if you watch this video to this very point, I am so convinced that you'll be able to create a brand story that will stand the test of time. Thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope that you found value in this. If you did find value in this video, you know what to do. Make sure you share this video to anyone you know needs this in the marketing community. And also make sure you subscribe to this channel if you are yet to. Till I catch you next time, my name is Tobiloba and happy marketing.